Which is currently the best electric premium SUV? The German premium manufacturers were late to the party and have built their electric SUVs on existing ICE platforms so far. So they can rely on proven stuff on the one hand, but have disadvantages like a transmission tunnel and space losses on the other hand. The Audi e-tron is both available as the e-tron SUV and the sportier shaped Audi e-tron Sportback, somewhat an electrified Audi Q8. The Mercedes EQC is rather an electrified Mercedes GLC, and the latest BMW iX3 is the electrified BMW X3. So lengthwise, EQC and iX3 are somewhat equal with over 4.70 m or over 186 inches, whereas the Audi e-tron is a little longer at 4.90 m or 193 inches. And the Tesla Model X is the longest one at 5.05 m or 199 inches. The Tesla is the EV from scratch. BMW will however follow with a direct competitor on the pure EV platform with the X5 size BMW iX. But so far, let's take a look at these competitors here. They are all starting at around 70,000 euros or dollars, with the exception that the Tesla is 20k euros more expensive in Europe. However, with the extra equipment, the Germans are at least as expensive, if not more expensive. Let's take a detailed look at exterior, interior, and the driving experience of all four of these electric SUVs. And also tell us in the comment sections later on which one is your favorite EV SUV, and if you want, also explain why. Let's go. Join us for a driving review of the new BMW iX3, the electrified X3. Let's go. The front here of the BMW iX3, you can see almost closed front double kidney in this new electric style. Then blue is the color, and yeah, for me, Thomas Blue favorite. Really cool, especially here with these accentuations in the inside of the kidney. We also have a dark blue color here for today. Headlamps standard with LED, optional the adaptive LED lights, they are also right here, and then they also have a more sophisticated daytime running light. The length is at 4.73 m, 15'5" or 186 inches, the same as the combustion engine BMW X3. They are different wheels, either 19 or 20 inch, and both in an aerodynamic styling. You can see here, these are the optional 20-inch wheels. Then you have special eye accentuations, like here, BMW i is still the electric brand, and a blue contrast here, bright blue contrast in the lower area. So this gives, a little unique styling. Still the crossover wheel arches, and then the classic building formula of the X3 with the upright windows. That also gives you a good roundabout visibility. Very interesting paint here, by the way, if you look closely, and you can see almost like sparkling in the paint. Really interesting. Technology-wise, of course, all electric means we have a big battery pack then in here, and it's really in the lower center of the vehicle, and this brings the center of gravity really way lower than with the normal vehicle, about 7.5 centimeters or 3 inches lower, and this then ensures a more sporty driving characteristics, although there's more weight. This is the battery pack here. Yeah, it's a dummy sample. 80 kilowatt hours gross, 74 kilowatt hours net capacity, and this is supposed to give you a official range of 460 kilometers or 285 miles. Then here at the rear you can see design-wise three-dimensional tail lamps, but that's also normal for this X3 generation. Special for the iX3 is, you have these like diffuser style blue accentuations in the lower part, of course no exhaust, and these were criticized a little bit. I've seen in the comments initially, but I think it's also quite cool. Here also blue ring about the around the BMW logo. We can also see it in the front. By the way, 286 horsepower is the peak output. 6.8 seconds is the acceleration figure to 1 kilometers or 62 miles an hour. That's a little bit slower than the comparable BMW X3 30i, but still, definitely reasonably powered, this vehicle. And the top speed, of course, all electric, is electric only, 180 kilometers an hour or 110 miles per hour, and rear-wheel drive only, so that stands also for a sporty BMW SUV. And here we also have a white vehicle for you, where these blue contrasts are even more prominent. But if you say now, wait a minute, I just want to have my iX3 look the very same as an X3, besides of the closed kidney and so on, you can also depict the blue contrast and have it just in the frozen gray. There are normal seats and sport seats available, and standard would actually be a Sensatec animal-free cover in black or brown. It almost looks the same as it is right here, also with these patches here, but this is the optional animal skin surface, and the only difference you see there, this has like a double stitching here, which the Sensatec seat would not have, but you really have to know that to see then or feel the difference. Comfort is actually quite good. In the X3 you already have a sophisticated SUV seating position. The BMW X1, is meanwhile also an SUV, not only a crossover anymore, but here the X3 definitely gives you like this grown-up SUV feeling already. Interior overview, typical X3, soft touch dashboard, then here this infotainment screen is like this popped up, but it's very good to see. You here get standard for the iX3, the otherwise optional BMW Live Cockpit Professional, 10.25 inch on the right, 12.3 inch on the left as for the screens, and OS 7, operating system 7 from the BMW, features Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and both wireless now. Then the GPS map also shows you some charging stations and reacts quite well, so nicely done as for that. Really responsive. And here the digital instruments, standard for the iX3 as I said. And now when I hit the start stop button, listen to the sound, designed by Hans Zimmer. So this is the new electric startup sound. It will be the same for all BMW electric vehicles. And when you shut it off again, and then we can see on the left side the speed, and on the right side here we have the power output, and then we can also see the recuperation meter and so on, and tell you more about that when we drive the vehicle. It's totally fine, pretty comfortable, enough legroom, and again with 1.86 or 6.1 also enough headroom. Would be a little more headroom if you leave out the panoramic roof, but that's totally fine. So comfortable seating here. Then you can control here the back part of the seats a little bit with this lever here in the angle. You can also fold them directly from here. I mean, this is more for the angle, and this in the upper part to fold them directly. As for the trunk, 510 up to 1,560 liters means hardly any compromise as for that. If you compare to the combustion engine version, really square dimensions, very nicely done. This cover here is also not too bad, easy. So the only thing you lose, you don't have too much space here underneath, but I think we can really live with that. Even loading still, good quality and so on. And to fold the seats, you can also use the mechanism right here, left and right. Good solution, so a very well usable electric vehicle. Let's go. Plop, that's it. And really powerful. And I think the electric sound it's actually quite nice. You know, it gives you indeed a little bit more of a feeling of what's happening. And this can actually be quite good for driver and co-driver, because sometimes, you know, you have like a spontaneous acceleration from electric vehicles and your brain doesn't really cope with it because it's so fast and there's no sound feedback. So just as a difference, when I'm in the comfort mode and do an acceleration, and then again when I'm in the sport mode and do acceleration, you know, it's a little bit louder. The steering input is really good, and you feel the low send off. Wow, it's really amazing. I can just stress that due to the low center of gravity, the car feels so sporty. Let's drive a little bit faster on the motorway. We can also do that. We are right now at the moment unlimited speed. Oh, come on, let's go to the sports mode once more. And even here in the high speed areas, you can still accelerate very well, 160 kilometers an hour. Wow. And how silent and stable the car is remaining. Adaptive suspension is standard for this vehicle. Here in the sports mode, it's set a little bit stiffer, but great balance between comfort and sportiness, even here with the 20-inch wheels. So 19-inch would be a little bit more comfortable, but 20-inch still work. Here at 170 kilometers an hour, we start to pick up a little bit of wind noise, but still, I mean, we're driving an SUV. It's an upright car, and it's super silent. Also here, high speed on the motorway. Wow, so awesome, so flawless here in the driving. I'm really, really impressed. Good overview also to the rear, to the sides, upright building style. This is like a very, very good mid-size SUV. And I mean, just from the customer experience, from driving and what it delivers, probably now one of the best mid-size SUV overall. Also set the cruise control here. There's the assistant driving function or just the distance control. So both is actually available. And with the assisted driving, the car is also keeping me in the lane, like this. Active lane keeping assist, and quite good center, not too intrusive. There's also blind spot monitor. We can see it right here. And when I put the turning indicators, then also starts to flash as an additional warning. I'm at the moment in normal driving mode, and it's about the adaptive recuperation. This is standard for the vehicle. So when I'm just rolling, the car is not recuperating at all, using rolling energy, which is more efficient if you want to cover more distance. Then, if you want to decelerate anyway, recuperation makes sense, of course, instead of using the normal brakes. And that's happening when you use the normal brakes. That's happening when you are in this B mode, or stronger recuperation, but also then here in the adaptive recuperation mode. So when the car is in front of us here now and they are decelerating, also the adaptive recuperation does that. So I'm gaining back the energy. Or when there's a next intersection or when there's a next traffic light, for example, then this adaptive recuperation is active, and thus BMW claims is the most efficient driving mode. The B mode would be the mode you go in for when you want the one pedal feeling. However, the thing is, when this adaptive recuperation is really so intelligent, probably you won't need it. And then it's actually good when you have situations. I'll cancel the cruise control now. Let's just test it. So I'm running towards this truck, and indeed, strong recuperation without setting cruise control or something. So it works without GPS data, without cruise control and so on, no problem. And here now, again in front of the truck, strong recuperation. What would be the difference? Here the B mode. So when I get off the throttle, strong recuperation, and it's really notable deceleration. But that's always happening then. So now when we take a look, we had more like constant speed now, and this about the 16 kilowatt hours on 100 kilometers, fuel economy, or energy economy, we have to say now. So used to these vocabularies. And 16 kilowatt hours on 100 kilometers would actually exactly hit the projected official range figure of 460 kilometers or 285 miles. And now to our conclusion for today with the all-new BMW iX3, the EV of the X3. First of all, exterior, the basic dimensions are of course the same, it's not too different. The blue accentuations, I found them pretty cool. I think it's a unique design feature, but again, as I said, you can also de-pick them if you rather want a normal look, as it is also with the combustion engine models. Interior, you have reasonable space, as you know from the X3, and you already have an upright, grown-up SUV feeling and seating positions. And there are also no compromises here for the electric version, so you can also very well use the trunk and so on. A high build quality as well. A little bit sad that they do not offer more animal skin alternatives, but you can get the base comfort seats then with the Sensatec. That will do just fine, just not in this test vehicle here today. And also then the Sensatec both in black and also in this brown color. So the color is the same for today, also available if you want a little bit more spiced up color right there. Then driving wise, it's just phenomenal. It drives so well. It is sporty due to the low center of gravity. due to the additional weight, it feels so sporty in driving. It has a spontaneous acceleration. This is also really cool, especially from the get-go. So just a flawless driving experience, both super sporty, agile and fun. At the same time, can be driven very efficiently. So even at higher autobahn speeds, if you put cruise control, 16 kilowatt hours on 1 kilometer is a realistic figure. So that would indeed be the official range of 460 kilometers or 285 miles. So quite impressed as for that. They obviously really found an efficient concept here for their new all-electric vehicle. And this strategy here, that they put the very same core car and not put a separate EV platform, this will be the same now for all BMW Group vehicles. When we see, for example, the BMW i4, which will, so to speak, the electrified 3 or 4 series, this will basically follow the same concept. So very interesting to see also this different strategy here now from the Volkswagen AG, for example. And yeah, I can just stress again, this is to me one of the best vehicles of the year in driving, especially efficient and fun at the same time. And I mean, it's not a new vehicle at all. The BMW X3 in this generation has been out there. Of course, now the electrified version is now all new. But it's really interesting how an existing vehicle can be made so much better as for the whole experience you have with that you are basically blown away. And that doesn't happen so often when I drive the new cars. So really, really cool. The question is then, again, as I said in the driving part, do you have the proper charging infrastructure? And is your driving profile like not, salesman, 50,000 kilometers, 30,000 miles a year? So if you don't commute like every day, so many miles or kilometers, and if you have the charging infrastructure, then the electrified version is also very interesting. Sadly, the BMW iX3, the electric version, will not be sold in the US so far. BMW does not expect this to be a significant market. Would like to hear the comments from our friends in the US to that. They expect China to be the main market, and then of course also Europe. And as for pricing, the very first communicated price was 68,000 euros for the German market. However, this is also a highly spec'd vehicle, so you have a lot of included equipment already if you compare to the base X3. And then if you put a high-spec X3 combustion engine, the difference is not that large anymore. Then if you count in some governmental benefits and tax benefits, it can be evened out a little bit more. And BMW also announced that they want to, step by step reduce the price of the iX3 to get it closer to the combustion engine models. What else was criticized here? That this car is only built in China for the world market. Quality-wise, you do not see any difference to X3 that is built in Spartanburg in the US, or for example, also if you think about BMW that are built in Germany or something, so they have the same quality measures and so on, and the same standards as for that. Still, some people rather want to have a BMW built in Germany or in the US. You can also, of course, understand that. And last but not least, what's your opinion here on the BMW iX3? Really looking forward to your questions and also to your opinion in the comments. It's a very, very interesting vehicle, and yeah, as I said, to me, one of the most striking ones of the year. Although it's based on an existing vehicle, but even interesting that by electrifying it, you can actually make it so much better. Join us for a review of the Raven model of the Tesla Model X Performance. Let's go. So there are many great things about this vehicle, and one of them is, for example, you approach it, have the key in your pocket, for example, then here mirrors fold out and the door automatically opens and comes towards you. This is just so intuitive, awesome. Well, meanwhile you can control the car with your smartphone, with the Tesla app, but I think it's always nice to have, this Tesla key stand, and you can do so much with it. For example, in the rear, you can, press it twice and then the trunk opens right there. You can press the left sides twice and then the Falcon doors open. So this is all possible. Really great stuff. or you just press it, on the top part, and then everything closes again. So this is so cool. And by the way, holding the rear part of the trunk then releases the charging port. In the front, you can see here, these are the daytime running lights. Beautiful design, sleek design as well. Typical small Tesla opening there with the logo. Of course, we don't need so much cooling here for an electric vehicle in the very front. The Model X, of course, resembles a little bit also the Model S, just this one being the SUV, it's then once again a little bit higher. Not so many visual changes here with the recent Raven update, but I can tell you there are a lot of things to come technology-wise, driving-wise, insulation-wise, suspension-wise, and so on and so on. The length is at 5 meters 04, 16 foot 5 or 198 inches. Of course, this hasn't changed. And 20-inch wheels or 22-inch wheels, directly the step. These are here the 20-inch wheels in the bright style. In Germany, for example, we have a different bright styling. In the US configurator at the moment, just one bright styling, but sometimes it changes as well. And then the 22-inch wheels would be in the black styling for more sporty, menacing style. However, here with these 20-inch wheels, you have the best riding comfort. Talking about that, here with the Raven update, both for the Model S and for the Model X, you get a new adaptive air suspension. So it had air suspension before, but now adaptive. You can also see different modes on the interior infotainment. And this is supposed to bring more comfort. Of course, we will find out more about it very soon while driving. Generally, the design here, crossover wheel claddings, typical SUV design, but then this more SUV coupe shape at the rear with these coupe style windows, tinted windows here also in the rear. Yeah, and then of course the very special Falcon doors. You can once again see how they look like when they open like this. They can even open when it's a little bit narrower right here. You've seen it maybe. And they also have good sensors. They work even better nowadays. Dual motor it says here, because one motor in the front, one in the rear. There's a new one in the front that is called Raven in this motor project. That's why also the whole update we can call Raven. It was used in Tesla Model 3 before at the rear axle, and here now at the front axle, because here at the rear for the S and the X they need stronger electric motors for the rear axle. But overall efficiency gain at least 10%, if not more, so there's more power available, yet at the same time a higher or longer range. And depending, of course, always on how you drive, you can really score more than 300 miles if you drive very, very well, even some 350 miles, or even realistically 500 kilometers as the range. That's very, very good. Now, two models available. Either here, the one we have today, the performance model with even more power for the rear motor, or then the long-range model. The acceleration figures here for the performance model in miles per hour, so to 60 miles an hour is 2.6 seconds for the performance model and 4.4 seconds for the long-range model, and up to 0 to 100 kilometers an hour is 2.8 seconds for the performance model and 4.6 seconds for the long-range model. And charging is 11 kilowatt AC and up to 250 kilowatt DC at the supercharger. Now the interior, black decal elements, then white leather red right here, also soft touch at the top part of the doors. We know these Mercedes window levers from past models. And you can see here, straightforward, simple layout, digital instruments, soon details to that. Also soft touch dashboard, all animal free, but looks like it. Just the steering wheel in the S and the X, you have to order that individually, that you get also a non-animal wrapping there. In the Model 3 and the Model Y it's standard, so this they have to work on the X and the S. However, here the seats, they are indeed all animal free, sustainable materials also. And if you think about petroleum use, by the way, this can also be done from recyclables first of all, soon maybe also from plant-based materials, and the amount of petroleum that would be used for PU seat is you know, really little if you compare it to fuel use or energy use. So while you do the production for animal skin, you use more oil than what you would use here for petroleum-based seats. Just a small, you know, information excursus. Definitely a great material here, very soft touch. It feels really high class, high grade. The recent BMW new CenterTech seats for BMW 5 Series were even better, I think, meanwhile. But these were already pretty cool. 3 colors, either here the white one, the standard one would be the black one, here for the white, and the beige one, 1,500 euros or dollars extra. Here with the white you have a black ceiling in combination. The beige one would come also with a bright ceiling, so probably for that reason I would put the beige ones. I think also the beige ones are not that sensitive to maybe like stains than the white ones. However, you can wipe them clean pretty easily. That's also a good solution, definitely. So my favorite pick would be probably the deep blue on the outside and the beige interior on the inside. But here white is also cool, or black and white. So exterior black and interior white would also be fancy. Definitely a very nice look we have here. Now let's get inside. Really easy entry here also to the front. And the reason I would always prefer the Model X to the Model S is that I sit more upright here in the SUV style. Yes, I like the Model S more as for the design, but here you have the upright SUV seating position and of course this huge panoramic front windscreen. Really cool. Talking about intuitive, when you are just, you know, entering the vehicle, and here you have maybe any doors open, then you can just press close all on the screen and then everything closes itself. And just for the driver's door, just hit the brake here with the foot. Here we go. What a great solution. Talking about straightforward here, I move the steering wheel, for example, or move the seat, then immediately here my Thomas user account says I can save it directly, so I can save my driving profile setting here for the seat and the steering. So once again, my point, it is a very complex thing. So many things are offered to you, but they made it easy. So that's the difference then to the new systems by the established car manufacturers. Very interesting. So here again, this cockpit setup that still looks concept car like, 17-inch screen, huge and massive. Here with the satellite view, Google satellite view, really impressive. And of course, the best GPS you can get because it's Google based. You know, in the digital instruments, as soon as you set the car to drive, then you have the speed in the top part, for example. Left side, when you have a GPS route set, that's also definitely a good solution. On the right side, either, for example, energy consumption meter, or then when I scroll with my right thumb here, this is then the thing I say, it's okay with the non-knob temperature because I can control the temperature right here. Just by scrolling with my right thumb, I can control the temperature, or again, I could use the voice input, and also here with the fan speed. So, and this can be easily done while driving, and that's why I can live without the temperature knobs. Or also here access the recent calls of your smartphone via Bluetooth. That's again another reason why I could also live without the CarPlay and so on. Yeah. Very interesting, definitely the solution here, and to me also way better than in the Model 3. It's so much better to have the instruments here and the according controls on the steering wheel than just that one setup screen in the Model 3 or in the Model Y. So that's also why for the user interface and the user input, I would prefer the X and the S. And then to the screen, we have so much to show here, also very fast and responsive, even though when the satellite view is activated. But of course, you can also go for the more basic view like this. It might be even better for navigation when that's, you know, when it's in this very mode here. But this, of course, looks fancier. Then there's this car menu where you can close, for example, all of the doors and so on, or change the display brightness. Suspension settings now for the adaptive air suspension, comfort, auto or sport. I usually leave it in comfort, just more comfortable. Suspension can be also lowered here. It needs to be lowered for the launch control, which you can activate here with the Ludicrous Plus mode. But then, no, I want my mommy, yes, bring it on. Then it, for example, now needs 40 minutes to preheat the battery for the Ludicrous Plus mode, but Ludicrous mode itself is also fine. Just believe me, it's more than fast enough. Usually I leave it on chill acceleration. That's better for your body and especially for the ones of your passengers. Music you would access here from your phone via Bluetooth. That's the only thing. You can easily access, for example, the recent calls and so on via Bluetooth. But picking playlists, at least from the iPhone X at the moment, is not possible. You have to pick it on your phone. Rear seating. It's really an awesome experience to get inside with these Falcon doors, with the wing doors. so easy the entry, at least when you have the space to open them all the way. Still some legroom left here when the bench is in the most rear position. We also have a different view of the Model X where we have the 6-seater model, which has the 2 single seats here, and then you can go through the rear in the middle for this 2-2-2 setup. That's of course a practical solution, also a lot of fun for the kids, for example. But here with the bench, the good thing is you can adjust here the back part of the seat in the angle, and they can also fold it down completely when you want to use the trunk a little bit more. So I think I would always go for the 5-seater or the 7-seater setup as we have it here right now. So the only thing that is maybe missing here for the 7-seater is a better entry function to the rear seats, and so you can just slide them forward and fold them down, but there's not like an comfort entry function or something. And when I go behind this here, then it does actually work then here with tall adults in a way that I have to put my head here behind this, close to the glass. It directly works, not like super comfortable, so also works with the legs, but only when I have pushed this bench here all the way forward. You can open the front in your smartphone app, or once again with a double click here on the key in the front. And so it's also a very easy solution. Here you can store additional charging cables, for example, or this charging cable box. So the maximum trunk figures for the 5-seater would be 2,500 liters or 88 cubic feet. And you see here there's the 7-seater, but I think it's actually quite cool because you can also use it as a trunk split, these additional seatings here in the rear. So a cabin trolley perfectly fits in here behind that. That's actually quite cool. And the measures just here in the very, very rear part. The length is here 45 centimeters and the width here, this is a meter. So this is more than a meter right here. And you can easily release them right here like this, and then you can also push them forward like this. So here we go. Welcome to Thomas's Driving Lounge with the Tesla Model X Performance Raven, this updated motor. And let's put it to the ludicrous mode. There's now also ludicrous plus mode available. However, that would take heating about 55 minutes or something. You get a little bit more power than even more extreme, but the battery has to be preheated for that. There's also then a launch control available, but of course you need maybe rather a racetrack for that. Here we do a flying start for safety reasons in the normal ludicrous mode, but this one will already be very spectacular. Ladies and gentlemen, the fastest series production SUV in the world from acceleration. Plop, that's 200 kilometers an hour or 125 miles per hour, and this was really an incredible acceleration. I mean, no other SUV can do that in this kind of way. And I mean, yes, it's very loud here and then in here, but considering the older model, this has massively been improved. And now let's go to a speed of 150 kilometers an hour. Whoa, yeah, that's a Porsche doing the same thing that we do. Because here now, this is now a very good speed, 140 kilometers an hour, and it's very, very silent in here. So this is a big step forward if you compare it to the non-Raven or pre-Raven model. So the noise insulation here, especially at higher speeds, has been massively improved, massively. So indeed, that was one of the things where so far we said Tesla has a great concept, but they are lacking a little bit behind in the perfection, in the look and feel, build quality, noise insulation, and so on. And once again, I'm really astonished how big the difference is. So most of the time, when there are changes in the Model X or Model S or even the Model 3, they're software relevant, and then it doesn't make a difference if you would buy a new model or not. That's also the good thing about Tesla. You always get the updates, and most of the time it's not hardware. Yes, and there are also some third-party insulation packages, for example, for Model 3, which really improves that and so on. But here, really now from works, I remember 2 years ago or something, I did a long haul with the Model X and also higher speed German motorway and so on. And I was really annoyed by when I was driving 140, 150 kilometers an hour. And I really was getting like a constant sound on my ears, and would say, I really have to drive slower because it's getting so annoying from the wind noises. Yeah, it's totally such a German problem, right? Yeah, I admit that. But now, that's totally gone. So I would really say this car here now gets the stamp German motorway proven. Congratulations, Elon. And you know, there was the rattling sun visor here before. That's gone. There were also other, you know, annoying sounds here from time to time. They're all gone. So I really have to ask myself, I could always say, like, you know, Tesla has the best concept, they have the most efficient electric motors, but then again, build quality wise, blah, blah, blah. They're lagging behind the Germans a little bit, that will take some time. It seems to be gone now. I mean, there's some like little things here and there, maybe, but I really have to say, the German premium manufacturers, they have to look out even here for the existing vehicle, not the all-new models. City driving, let's do an acceleration while steering. This will be very interesting in the ludicrous mode once again. Whoa, and that was pretty stable. You see there was, you know, of course the all-wheel drive, so both electric motors, evening that out pretty well. So, wow, so this was very, I mean, extremely fast, but still very collected. And then let's put it back here to the chill mode. That's more than enough. By the way, again, if you see something of that screen flickering, that's just on camera because the shutter speed of this action cam cannot be adjusted. Here, more recuperation is also possible now, more or stronger recuperative braking because of the new electric motor. And when you set it here to the standard recuperation, this really means it's a very harsh recuperation. You can use one pedal driving. So when I lift my foot off throttle, even going downhill, there's a strong deceleration. And especially if you have passengers next to you, you use this car not in a way that you always lift your foot that's interesting. You always lift your foot off the throttle, foot off the throttle totally and instantaneously. You rather do it gently, for example, to adjust the decreasing speed. You just do it when you really need, like, you know, strong deceleration. And when you have set the, you know, the stopping mode to a complete stop, then it really recuperates or like stops until zero, until it stands still. When you have set it to the creeping mode, that means when you lift your foot off the throttle while standing still, it creeps forward, rolls forward slowly like a normal automatic gearbox in an ICE. When you have set to that mode, then the car will not stop and not go to 0 kilometers or miles per hour when you're standing still. So that really then depends on your driving mode. But usually I would set it to the creep mode because I think it's nice that it just creeps a little bit forward from time to time then. But then again, this coming to a total stop when just releasing the throttle pedal, this has also something, so maybe I will switch that now. I don't know. Great improvement definitely here once again from the air suspension, which is now adaptive, and this is so much more comfortable. I wouldn't say it's still not the best air suspension on the market. This is something, you know, where the German premium manufacturers still have a little bit, you know, something in advance. Usually I would also set it here to the most comfortable node, but even here now in the comfort setting from the air suspension, it's still sporty enough definitely, but there's a huge boost of comfort if you compare it to the pre-Raven model, definitely. And now to our conclusion for today with the updated Tesla Model X performance and the updated Raven version. Well, exterior-wise, still a very sleek design. However, the rear is a little bit bulky than in, you know, I think, but just personal preference. I don't think, to me, it's the most beautiful SUV in the world there is. but definitely a very unique styling and a very unique concept. Of course here with the Falcon Wings doors, but even more so in the interior, where we have the very futuristic concept, which even today could be a concept vehicle on a motor show, with the panoramic windscreen, which is the biggest in the world definitely, and of course also with the all-vegan seats, so very animal friendly. Yeah, they have to work on that steering wheel wrapping here in contrast to the Model 3 and the Model Y in the X and in the S, but talked about that earlier as well. Great sound system, a nice feeling while driving. Although there are hardly any buttons left, the car is easy to control, for example also with the steering commands here with your right thumb. So overall, this is a very, very great concept of a vehicle, also one of the most efficient cars out there, considering especially that size. The Raven update, updated range, even more performance. You don't really need the performance model, you can easily just go with the long range model. Most of the time I'm driving this in the chill, in the reduced power mode, because otherwise it's just too much power this car has. Of course, an extreme acceleration, this is really, really impressive. But even more so in this Raven update, the updated air suspension, which is now more comfortable, and the great improved noise, like all the vibration things, noise, the overall less wind noise and so on, less rolling noise. So this has been a great improvement here now. So we can really say, so far, Tesla had the best concept, as for the, whole efficiency and for, the environmentally friendly concept. But then the German manufacturers had the best, look and feel, build quality and best noise insulation and so on and so on. So it were the little things that were missing with the Tesla Model X that were making it maybe a little bit worse. Now, these are the little things that make it even better. Very interesting findings for today. So, what do you think? Tell me your comments here about the updated Tesla Model X. Welcome from the desert with Thomas and the all-new Audi e-tron. It starts already with LED headlamps, optional the ones you can see here, the LED matrix lights, and those also have a special high beam function. However, you see the grille is a little bit more closed, just little openings here, and I also have an interesting cutaway model. So behind this very front grille there is basically another layer, and there you have some active layers. They can open when the cooling is needed, and they close again when the cooling is not needed, and that improves the wind efficiency. 4.90 meters or 16'1" is the total length. Those ones here are already quite bigger rims, so in this case 20-inch. There are different styles available. You get styles which look like really electric vehicle alike, more streamlined, and then you get some, normal old school wheels. Those virtual mirrors, the camera that is placed inside here, is not standard. It's an option. So the base car, and everyone can go for that, just for normal mirrors. Whew, glad you can. Then there's a camera here, just for the round view camera for the infotainment system, but the main camera, of course, for the screen inside is right here. The light strip goes all the way across the vehicle. Interesting LED daytime running light also at the sides. There's an e-tron badge right there, and you see that this top part hangs a little bit over, but over I think it's not too daring, rather elegant design here too. And those strange naming stuff, 55 Quattro, 55, well, why are they doing that? They want to be able that you compare it, for example, to a petrol engine, which is also maybe, or diesel, which also at 55, that you can see, oh, they're in the same horsepower range. But how many horsepower? That doesn't leave any trace or hint for that. 1.86 m or 6'1", still leaves a lot of headroom. This one here without a panoramic roof, so that of course always gives you more headroom. First of all, the screens, 12.3 digital instruments, 10.1 top screen, 8.6 lower screen with a climate unit. An interesting part is definitely also this lower part with this special shifting lever. You put it back to put a gear in and park at the side. This one is completely new. And this digital mirror again, when we really sit here and the door is closed, and we can also see this is here the side of the vehicle then. You cannot make it closer to the vehicle. You can just make it more far away from the vehicle and then again hit the reset button, which is again put a little bit too low, I think. And then if we switch here, we can see there's some more. Of course, there's nothing happening here now because we are actually controlling the other side. So here we go. Now I'm using the touch pad or this touch screen on the other side, and the passenger side is being controlled. Headroom wise, it's also no problem here in the back. Again, I'm 1.86 m or 6'1". Knee room is also fine. So, I mean, it's not a short car, so the package is not the best. It should have even a little bit more legroom considering the length, but you can see with 4 adults, absolutely no problem. So, and then you put this one here up and have some 60 liters in the front, for example, to stow all of the equipment here. This setup here is 600 liters. That's of course very limited, especially in height. The maximum figure is 1,725 liters. So if we flip the seats from here, that's quite practical. And then you can also load things through. Let's see how that acceleration goes. Preload 50% and wow, that's already 1:30 it was. That was super quick. And due to this all-wheel drive, so one motor each axle, also a very, let's say, flawless feeling. Pretty interesting. What do you think? Did you check the time code? How fast did we really go? And now to our first real driving part on the road and also in public traffic. And let me start to tell you something about the recuperation modes, because that's really essential for driving. So there's 2 ways. I can set the recuperation to automatic, then the car is predominantly just rolling. And when I hit the brakes, we can also see it here on our special prepared iPad, where we can see if the car is using the brakes. That would be in red. So, or when it's green, or in turquoise. Those 2 are recuperation. So turquoise is just basically the rolling recuperation. Green would be a little stronger recuperation. Orange is when I accelerate, so use the power. So you can see here when I lift my foot off the throttle, turns turquoise. Then it's just a rolling recuperation, and we'll see the green recuperation later. And when I would be braking really hard, then it's also red. Yeah, that's hard to hold the third camera then, of course. So, and the thing is, when I'm in this automatic mode, then the car is predominantly set on rolling. That's not a one-pedal feeling. So, however, when I use the shifting pedal, I can set 2 recuperation modes. And then the car is recuperating harder when I go off the throttle. But as soon, like this, so recuperating, for example, on the second mode, but as soon as I go on the throttle, this is basically deleted by the car. And the car only goes into this recuperation mode, for example, when there is maybe like an intersection coming or something like that. However, if I now, on the infotainment system, pick manual, then it's more like, you know, from Tesla, for example, like this one pedal feeling, because then the car is remembering what I said on a manual basis. I can have it with the just rolling here, nothing's happening, car's just rolling, which would be more efficient if I want to roll the longest way, of course. So rolling is always more efficient than recuperating, unless you want to reduce the speed anyway, you know.
And that's quite often the case. And there you can set the first recuperation mode, and then also when I hit the throttle again, it stays in this mode and goes back to the reducing the speed as soon as I go off the throttle. And also in the second recuperation mode, and that one would be coming closer than to this one pedal feeling or driving. The steering is really precise of this vehicle, so there's no real dead zone of the steering wheel. It is not hard to control, but at the same time it gives you a very natural driving feeling. And usually it's not so much fun to go around those bends in big SUVs, and it isn't a big SUV, but still it's a lot of fun and it's really agile to drive. The torque is somehow rear wheel biased. That also helps with this sporty experience for sure. So just listen how silent it is. So we don't have any engine sound, maybe just like this little EV sound we are hearing. And together with the great noise insulation, it gives me a very calm and silent driving feeling, although it's sporty, and that's definitely fun. And I'm not necessarily missing any engine sound here. It would be maybe a little bit more entertaining to have a V8 sound or something on camera, definitely. But you can still enjoy some sporty driving. So the most confusing thing again with the mirrors is you have to look more down. And I think the thing is with the mirrors, I mean, if you look at this mirror, if you look at that side mirror and then that side mirror, the normal ones, it somehow gives you an overall feeling, a three-dimensional feeling of your surrounding. But since those are here, flat screens, they don't deliver you that. So that's, I think, also another problem. And also when you control them, while driving, that's way more distracting to control those while driving than you would do it with the electric mirror control right there, because then you also look a little bit more upright, more like here, and here you look here. That's again another problem. So I just have to, I can just mention that again. I think this is the biggest technology, one of the biggest technology fails I've recently seen in a vehicle. Exterior-wise, I think it's very well done. It's an elegant design, and I mean, it's basically an electric Q8, so to say, if you just look from the exterior. On the interior, you got a great build quality and also a very elegant and clean design for sure. You can argue about if you need a central controller or if it's enough with the touchscreen while driving. While driving, it's quite often better not to use the touchscreen, so that's surely an argument. But overall, the software is quite intuitive to use. However, one big flaw for a supposed to be sustainable vehicle, of course, that they still set all the sails on animal skin. But with their recent concept car, Audi has shown that they want to change that now bit by bit at least. But they should have already done that here with this vehicle. From the room you have inside, it's also quite okay. In the rear trunk, well, it's not too high, but other than that, you can very well use this car, yes. You feel that it's not initially an all-electric platform. It's still this base from the MLB, which they're using for the A6, A7, A8, Q8, Q7 and so on. So that's a different, for example, to Tesla. Tesla builds the car from scratch as an electric vehicle. Here you have some points where you see they did not do that. That will follow later, a little bit later in the Volkswagen Corporation, first for the smaller cars, then for the bigger cars. But Audi wanted to put this car on the market now. They are already quite late. The biggest fail of this car are those virtual mirrors. I think they're really dangerous. Please do not pick them if you buy this vehicle, and also give the manufacturer a feedback. I have tested it now thoroughly, and yes, if you get used to it, you will handle them a little bit better, that's for sure. But still, you always have to look a little bit further down, and that distracts you. It takes more time to look up again, and especially when it's sunny. It's like working on a laptop when it's sunny. It just doesn't work for me, and I think it will also not work for you. And the second flaw is the range we were expecting. Figures as for 250 miles or 400 kilometers. Audi even promised more, but what we realistically found, without super hammering it, is more 300 something plus kilometers or 180, 190 miles. And that's still enough for most situations. But if you think about that, realistic Tesla figures with the big battery is rather 400, 450 kilometers and definitely more than 200 miles. And it also, like from Hyundai and Kia, they're smaller cars, they are also reaching those ranges now. So the range is indeed a little bit disappointing. The consumption was a little bit too high, between 26 and even 30 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers, and that's just too much. But now to the biggest strength of this vehicle. It drives so incredibly well. Due to this electric all-wheel drive and the basically free distribution, it feels like like a smaller car. It almost handles like a compact hatch or so. We also experienced that in our prototype ride in Namibia. This is so agile with the AWD. It's so silent on the one hand due to the great insulation on, so you can drive also really fast. That's, by the way, also they have something ahead in Tesla, the production quality and also the noise insulation. So at higher speeds, it's still very, very silent. It's a great ride. The seats from the form are also so comfortable, and together with all of that, you have a super comfortable ride, but at the same time, it's very sporty, although you have an air suspension, which is again, a balance between sportiness and comfort. So I cannot stress too much how well it is to ride this car. So that's actually the biggest strength. And from driving, I think it's at the moment the best electric vehicle. But concept-wise, we've explained to you some of those factors. They are surely lacking some things yet. And overall, I think definitely one of the very interesting cars here at the moment of the market. I think we could very well show you the pros and cons, and I hope you enjoyed this Autogefuehl episode with us.
This is the driving review of the Mercedes EQC. Let's go. In the front you can see there is this black panel design, so it does somewhat look different, looks somewhat electric, especially if you pick this base electric trim, so to say, and they use those blue contrast for their electric EQ brand. How do you like this front appearance? And the headlamps, they start directly with the LED high beam light, a special one, the multi-beam, how Mercedes calls it. So there's a lot of standard equipment already with this car, and the pricing is also very interesting. I'll also tell you more about that later. The length is at 4 meters 76, 15'6" or 187 inches, and that's a little bit longer than the Mercedes GLC, the combustion engine brother. And also, if you think about the electric competitors, a little bit longer than the Jaguar I-Pace, but a little bit shorter than the Audi e-tron, and also a little bit shorter than the Tesla Model X. Here in the rear, it's all defined by this light strip that goes all around right there. I think it's a beautiful LED signature. And in the lower part, there are, some bright contrast right there. But overall, a very clean and sleek design. And by the way, the trunk we open by flipping this Mercedes logo here. That's very interesting. And in the interior part, you'll also see how much space there is actually left. This is the car key, it's slim and light. We also know it from an E-Class, or for example, it's pretty good. You can also use your smartphone with NFC to open and close the car. That would also be an option. Other than that, door closing sound. Pretty solid. And then inside of the doors with a nice leatherette cover. This is available in different colors, by the way. Also the inserts here, you get a dark open cell matte wood that feels very good, natural, and as there's also a bright version I would recommend. There's also carbon fiber look available and aluminum, and also a so-called matrix style, like with the dot structure. So those are all the ones that are available. There are a lot of different seats available. Those ones here are called Sunnyvale, and then you get either a beige, this bright fabric on the inside, or a blue one, and on the outside you have some Artico leatherette. And my seating position here on the driver's seat, headroom wise, with one with 86 or 6 with 1, still some left, even though there's the panoramic roof here. It's not too high, of course, but still okay. Seat controls at the inside of the doors, as you know it from Mercedes. And again, you know, this lower part can be also put back in again, if you like, depending on the length of your legs. It's a comfortable seating position. I have no possibility to test the base seats here today. I can just tell you that those optional, little bit sportier seats, they're not too sporty, so they offer you a decent comfort. We've also been driving a couple of hours now, and I can, you know, just say positive things about the seats, also long-term perspective. This is the interior overview, and somewhat, of course, you resemble the Mercedes concept here from those new cars that you have those freestanding displays. This is also standard here for the EQC. That's good. No, like this is optional, and also comes directly with the MBUX, the system, which has also a new voice input. On the right thumb here, you can control the right screen, but also with touch, but also then with this lower touchpad, that's also possible for redundant controls, you can call those. On the left side here, usually you use your left thumb to control the digital instruments right there. You can also change something from the views. And what I also want to show you is the GPS, because that works very well and also is quite responsive. Connecting the smartphone will also be possible, of course. This EQ here, by the way, is like when you press the separate button on the lower middle console. Comfort, this is here. This so-called energizing comfort control, that the seats are adjusted a little bit while driving from the normal controls to create less fatigue. Then here with apps, you will be able to have the smartphone connection either with Android Auto or with Apple CarPlay with your cable. They do not offer the wireless connection yet. So I think here everything is quite easy to control. Bluetooth connection is, of course, also still available. And what about this voice control? Hey Mercedes.
How may I help you?
Find me a hotel in Oslo. So let's see.
Please select an entry.
Ah, there we have some hotels in Oslo. This is not an advertisement, by the way. I wish those hotels would pay us, but they don't. So those digital instruments are very clear to read, and you also have a lot of different options. You can also put the GPS right in there if the road would be mapped at the moment. So that's possible. Or the telephone information. You can also change what you want to see on the head-up display, and also go different designs. This is a so-called progressive design, but you also go like this, classic and sport. I have the seat as I would be driving, and you have those gaps at the back of the seat, so it still leaves some knee room here. It's not like super ample of space, but you can easily sit here also as a tall adult. Headroom-wise, that's also still okay for me. So 4 tall adults can be housed right here. If you compare to an Audi e-tron, that one is a little bit bigger car, therefore you also have a little bit more space. But they drive a little bit different also, so we'll tell you more about it when we drive the car soon. And of course, the question is always how far you want to go on the dimensions from the exterior, depending on the country you live in. Now what about the trunk? Again, we flip the Mercedes logo right there. And here we go. Of course, you lose a little bit in height. It's 500 liters here. This is a little bit wobbly. There's no rail at the side. 550 liters, it would be for the GLC, by the way. So, yeah, a little bit less, but still somewhat okay. Some more space below here. The horsepower figure is, by the way, 408. So 408 horsepower, and acceleration figure to 100 kilometers or 62 miles now is 5.1 seconds. wait a minute, a GLC 43 is 4.9 seconds, so it really comes close to it, and the pricing is very interesting. In Germany, the price is at 70,000 euros or 71,000 euros, and if you then deduct the governmental benefits and so on, you would almost get the price of a GLC 43. But the thing is that this one here comes with a lot of standard equipment. So usually with Mercedes, you hardly get anything, and then you have extra price, extra price, extra price, extra price. And this car here already comes with a really, you will soon see it on the interior, with a lot of equipment, which is standard equipment then. And I think, you know, it's still a very expensive vehicle. But considering other Mercedes for, you know, in this region, this one then is, at Mercedes, a quite good deal price-wise.
People say electric vehicles have a lot of power. Is that true? Let's go. Plop, and that's already 100 kilometers now, or 62 miles. And probably heard also some bottles at the inside of the doors were flying all over the place. Wow. That was really powerful, and indeed that comes to my theory that this one here can also be somewhat a replacement for a GLC 43 AMG. I like driving a GLC, yes, already. This one here is way heavier than the GLC, but the funny thing is that it feels more agile. The center of gravity is lower because the heavy battery pack, 650 kilograms, is really, you know, put in the bottom of the vehicle. That makes it sports car-like from the driving feeling. So although it's really heavy, it drives sportier than it should be from the figures. That's really interesting, and it's a lot of fun here in the corners when we just have the cruise control and about 80 or 100 kilometers set. Then you can actually reach a consumption of about, let's see, it says at the moment, yeah, we're going towards 14 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. That's of course then the ultra low figure, but the more we drive, the more average we get then. So we'll take a look at that. 20, if you have some acceleration in there, is surely a realistic figure. And if we think about 20 kilowatt hour per 100 kilometers, then it would indeed be some 400 kilometers in range, or that's about 250 miles in range as a realistic figure. And I'm pretty sure we'll also reach soon about 20 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers here. And it's very important here for electric vehicles to talk about the recuperation, to gain back the energy. And there's this auto mode. So the car decides itself, also according to, you know, GPS data, for example, and, you know, what's coming ahead. It's very interesting. Usually you can leave it like this. So at the moment here, for example, we're going downhill, but the car is then something maybe not decelerating enough. And then I can set the left shifting pedal, put it to D minus minus, and you can see I now have to accelerate again to even it out. This is in the very hard recuperation, so D minus minus. So I can put the right shifting pedal to go to D minus. So right shifting pedal is less recuperation, left is more.
And now to our conclusion for today with the Mercedes EQC. From the styling, you either have more electric styling, or especially if you go for an AMG line exterior, it looks more GLC-ish. I think overall this crossover look works for a lot of people. I also, you know, talked about some people passing by, and they were all very interested or enthusiastic about this vehicle. So obviously it does work. On the inside, I think even better, they found an own styling there. Some elements, of course, you see that it's basically a GLC platform, and that's, I think, not a bad thing at all. The GLC is a good mid-size SUV. But I really like those unique styling elements they found there on the interior. For example, those really touchable horizontal fins there. and great seating choices they offer here. This is really high class, at the same time sustainable, and really different choices you want to have with microfiber, fabric, or all the way leatherette and so on. So really cool styling and power performance wise. I mean, here 765 Newton meters of torque. Not this one here, not under the hood, but the electric motors then placed a little bit lower. So very interesting power-wise. It was a great agile handling. I had so much fun driving this car, and that really speaks for it. The Audi e-tron, by the way, was also a lot of fun. I think this one maybe feels a little bit more agile even, and I think it has a little bit more class design-wise than the Jaguar I-Pace. The Tesla, they feel less agile, are also a little bit lower in the build quality, for example, are not as silent as the Audi and the Mercedes when you drive higher speeds, for example, as for noise insulation. Then again, the Teslas also have their special unique selling points with the infotainment system, with the Google integration and so on, and with a very calm design overall. The Tesla Model X, of course, very special with those captain seats where you can get in if you have the 6-seater setup. So all have their unique selling point. But I think now, after driving this one here, it comes close somewhat to Mercedes customers because it's a very comfortable ride. At the same time, they keep the Mercedes design styling elements. So I think this vehicle will work pretty well. What do you think? And I want to close our conclusion here with a Oslo city view and also our final conclusion on the consumption and the range. Because as we've driven the car more and more and more, it became a more realistic average. The new WLTP figure, so the official driving cycle, is between 25 and 22 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. And those new WLTP figures are also more realistic than the old consumption figures were. And the one we could score here ourselves is an average of 23 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. That is somewhat comparable to the consumption of the competitors, yes. And as for the range, if you calculate here with a battery pack, we can say that the effective range then would be about 350 kilometers or 220 miles. So those were our impressions here of the Mercedes EQC. Different things we've been showing you today here. I think, we enjoyed it really, driving this car, and I hope you also enjoyed it here together with us. Please leave us your comments to the EQC. And also tune into the competitor reviews, the Audi e-tron, the Jaguar I-Pace, Tesla Model X. We'll also link those in the video description. And also tell me, would you consider this here as a replacement for a GLC 400 or a GLC 43? We're looking forward to your remarks. And now to our conclusion for today. These are really some special vehicles. The Tesla Model X still stands out most from these. It is the longest one and also has the bulkiest styling. It offers the most seating space in the interior, has the most unique concept with the panoramic glass roof, intuitive technology like the electrically opening and closing doors, and over-the-air updates living up to modern standards. The seat surfaces are animal-free only. That's how you design a sustainable interior. The Model X leads in range and drivetrain efficiency. You can drive it at higher speeds on the motorway without losing too much range. The acceleration in the performance model beats supercars. Downsides are the worst build quality within this comparison and the worst driving agility. Important is still the Tesla supercharger network. The BMW iX3 is the least unique one, looks so normal X3 alike, and it is much more normal X3 in so many respects. However, the driving agility makes it the most fun X3. And also in this very comparison, the iX3 feels more agile, lightest and more fun. Due to the low center of gravity, it drives like a super sports SUV. In our test, the drivetrain also showed good efficiency on the motorway. The iX3 is a good exterior-interior length compromise, shorter than the Tesla Model X and thus better suitable for the city, but already enough space on the interior. The build quality is great, however the design is throughout conservative. Base seats are SensorTech leatherette, however BMW does combine higher trims and options with the animal skin option sadly. The Audi e-tron is size-wise between the other competitors, has a great interior build quality and a straightforward user interface. The voice control is the worst in the test, however the touchscreen menu is easy to use. Audi has the least and worst choices of animal-free surfaces for the seats, weak and weird. On the exterior, you can choose between the SUV and sportback building style. For an SUV of that size and weight, the Audi e-tron has astonishing driving agility. It feels like a good compromise between comfort and sportiness. It indeed delivers both. It doesn't keep up with the range of the Model X, however the DC charging is quite effective, if you find suitable DC charging station. The Mercedes EQC seems like the biggest compromise, like Mercedes wanted to do something electric and didn't want to invest too much in it. However, it is still a very nice vehicle to drive. It doesn't offer too much interior space, however it shows a lot of very attractive animal-free materials on the interior. There's also driving fun. The range is the lowest in the test. So where does that leave us for today? If you are from the US, the choice is quite clear, take the Tesla, because it will be the cheapest option, while a lot of the features are the best, like efficiency, range and the unique cockpit atmosphere. Also, Tesla does not use animal materials on the seats anymore at all. The only thing you have to swallow that the Model X has the worst driving dynamics if you compare it to the German competitors. But it is really cool and fair that the Model X and also the other Teslas basically don't have any expensive options. In Europe, the Model X is more expensive than in the US. However, if you put some extra equipment into Mercedes, BMW and Audi, the price won't make a big difference anymore. The Tesla Model X is still the most unique electric SUV. If driving dynamics and driving fun is more important to you and the Tesla Model X is maybe a little bit too long or bulky, especially when you live in a more crowded area, then the BMW iX3 seems to be the choice for you. It was so much fun and also showed good efficiency on the motorway. The BMW iX3 has the most unspectacular concept, but it was really spectacular in our test. However, BMW didn't understand that animal skin has nothing to do with sustainable electric vehicles. The same counts for Audi with their e-tron. A great vehicle, but the German premium manufacturers haven't understood yet why people buy Tesla. Because of the why and not because of the what. The Audi e-tron stands for a great interior build quality and a premium feeling. It delivers the highest premium feeling in the test. Again at the cost of using animal materials besides the base versions in Europe. The Mercedes EQC is a cool vehicle without a doubt and especially has great interior solutions. However, if you look at all the features, not so much more other than the personal taste speaks for it, especially because it has the worst efficiency and range. My choice? All four vehicles are desirable and fun, no doubt. It also depends on the concise offer you get at your dealer. Tesla shows that they have understood the concept of building more sustainable new cars, making efficient drivetrains and animal-free interiors. Ask your dealer about the steering wheel when order Model X though. At some point there might be a custom order available. So if you don't have problems with parking space and if driving agility is not a priority number one, the Model X is the choice, especially if you are one of our friends from the US. And it is also the vehicle that delivers the most unique experience, although the exterior design to me is not that appealing. The BMW iX3 would be my driving fun choice and would also suit more to European cities. That's the big advantage. It is really awesome, however you cannot take all options if you want to stay animal free with the seats. But for Europe, the iX3 low trim would be my choice, also to keep the price down and stay with the Sensatec. The Audi e-tron is still lovely, great drive, awesome seating comfort and great interior build quality, but they didn't really get that sustainability concept that much, and it's also really expensive. The Mercedes EQC is on the factual side the loser of this test, however I would still enjoy driving the EQC, but that offer would have to be the best one then from the dealer. Now tell us, which one would be your favorite and why?